Hello everyone, here is Afra Siab. Today we are going to solve Cambridge IGCSE Physics Paper 2 Multiple Choice Extended held on October-November 2019 and paper code is 0625 with variant 22. So let's start from question number 1. Question number 1. A student measures the dimension of a cylindrical glass beaker. For which measurement should she use a micrometer screw gauge? Option A. Circumference of the beaker. B. Diameter of a beaker. C. Height of the beaker. D. Thickness of the glass wall of the beaker. So micrometer screw gauge is basically used for the measurement of the thickness. So here the micrometer screw gauge is used for the measurement of the thickness of glass wall of the beaker. So option D is correct. Question number 2. The graph shows how the speed of a car varies during part of a journey. Here is the speed time graph and speed is taken along y-axis while the time is taken along x-axis. What is the acceleration of the car between 6.0 second and 10.0 second? Here we have to find out acceleration. And acceleration is the slope of speed time graph. So I write here acceleration is equal to delta V over delta T. Time is given 6.0 second and 10.0 second. So 6.0 is here and 10.0 second here. We find out their corresponding values of the speed. At 6.0 second, speed is 10.0 meter per second, while at 10.0 second, speed is 15 meter per second. Now I am going to put values here. Acceleration will be equal to V2 minus V1 over T2 minus T1. 15.0 minus 10.0 divided by T2 is 10.0 minus 6.0. So acceleration will be equal to 5.0 over 4.0, 1.25, and the unit of acceleration is meter per second square. Now we see the options. Option A 0.50 meter per second square, B 0.80 meter per second square, C 1.25 meter per second square. So option C is correct. Question number 3. A car travels at an average speed of 60 km per hour for 15 minutes. How far does the car travel in 15 minutes? Here we have to find out the distance when the average speed and time is given. First of all, we see here that the average speed is given in kilometer per hour and the time is given in minutes, while in the answers the distance is in kilometer. It means that we have to convert here time. Either we have to convert the minutes into hour or hour into minutes. So I write here distance is equal to speed multiplied by time. Speed is given 60 km per hour multiplied by time. Time is 15 minutes. And 15 minutes is basically equal to 1 over 4 hour. So it will be equal to 1 over 4 hour. Because 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. So I multiply here with 1 over 4 and unit is hour. So the distance will be equal to 15. This hour cancels by this and unit is kilometer. Now we see the options. Option A 4.0 kilometer, B 15 kilometer. So option B is correct. Question number 4. A box is placed on the ground An upward force of 15 Newton is needed to lift the box at constant speed. Which row correctly describes the box? Mass of the box and weight of the box. First of all, here we have a box, and the upward force is acting is 15 Newton, while the weight of this box is acting in downward direction. And we know that weight is equal to product of mass and G. Now it is given that an upward force of 15 Newton is needed to lift the box at constant speed. When the speed is constant, then acceleration will be equal to 0. So when acceleration is equal to 0, net force on this box will be equal to 0. And this net force is basically due to the weight and due to the upward force. So I write here net force is equal to W minus F, which is equal to 0. So weight is equal to upward force, which is given 15 Newton. So the weight is also equal to 15 Newton. Next we have to find out the value of the mass. Again I use formula W is equal to mg and m is equal to W over g. So mass is equal to, weight is given 15 Newton divided by the value of g is 10. So mass is 1.5 kilogram. Now we see the options. Option A, mass is 1.5 kilogram while the weight is 15 Newton. So this option is correct. Question number 5. The table gives the mass and the volume of the three objects P, Q and R. Here are objects P, Q and R. The mass in gram is given and also the volume in centimeter cube is given. Which objects can float in the liquid of density 0.85 gram per cubic centimeter? Here we have to describe that which one of the following objects float in the liquid, and the density of liquid is given, which is 0.85 gram per cubic centimeter. First of all, we find out the density for all of these objects. So I write here density for the object P, it is equal to mass over volume, where mass is given 23 gram and volume is 36 cubic centimeter. So here will be 23 over 36, which is equal to 0.6388 gram per cubic centimeter. The density for object Q, it is also equal to mass over volume, 170 divided by 720. It is equal to 0.236 gram per cubic centimeter. The density of the object R, for the object R, mass is 240 while the volume is 340. So density will be equal to 0.705 gram per cubic centimeter. Now we see that the densities of the object P, Q and R is smaller as compared to the density of liquid. I write here density of object Q is smaller as compared to density of the liquid. Also the density of Q is smaller than the density of liquid. And the density of object R is also smaller than the density of liquid. When the density of the object is smaller as compared to the density of liquid, then the object floats. It means that object P, Q and R, all of these objects float. Now we see the options. Option A, P and Q only. B, P and R only. C, Q and R only. D, P, Q and R. So option D is correct. Question number 6. A hook is used to lift a metal plate as shown. An upward force of 100 Newton is needed to lift the metal plate about the pivot as shown. What is the weight W of the metal plate? Here we have to find out the weight of the metal plate. here I use the concept that the clockwise moment will be equal to the anti-clockwise moment. I write here law of conservation of moment. Clockwise moment is equal to anti-clockwise moment. We see here the weight of this object is acting downward and the distance of this weight from the pivot point is 50 centimeter. This weight basically causes the anti-clockwise moment, while there is also the hook and here is a force of 100 Newton. The perpendicular distance of this force from the pivot point will be the sum of 50 centimeter and 40 centimeter. So it will be equal to 90 centimeter. The force of 100 Newton basically causes the clockwise movement, and movement is the product of force and the perpendicular distance. So clockwise movement will be equal to force is 100 Newton multiplied by the perpendicular distance is 90 centimeter. It will be equal to weight multiplied by the perpendicular distance of this weight, which is 50 centimeter. So weight is equal to 100 multiplied by 90 divided by 50. Weight is equal to 180 Newton. So from here option C is correct. Question number 7. What is the unit of the moment of a force? Moment of force is basically the product of force and the perpendicular distance from the pivot point. I write here moment of force is equal to R, which is the distance multiplied by the force. The unit of distance is meter while the force is measured in Newton. It means that the unit of the moment of force is Newton meter. Now we see the options. Option A Newton, B Newton per kilogram, C Newton per meter, D Newton meter. So option D is correct. Question number 8. A ship travels due to north through still water at a speed of 20 meter per second. It enters the channel where there is a current in the water from west to east. The speed of the current is 20 meter per second. Which diagram shows the resultant velocity v of the ship? Here we have to find out the resultant by the vector addition. Now we see the option A. In the option A, we can see here that the first vector is towards the north, while the second vector is towards east. But there is no addition according to head to tail rule. According to head to tail rule, if I draw the first vector, which is due to north, the second vector must be like that the tail of the second vector coincide at the head of the first vector. The second vector will be like that, which is also 20 meter per second, and the resultant will be from the tail of first vector towards the head of the last vector. In the first diagram, we can see here 20 centimeter is given, which is towards north, but the 20 centimeter that is due to the east, it is not added according to the head to tail rule. So option A is also incorrect. Now we see the option B. This is also incorrect because here is no addition according to head to tail rule. The second vector must be here. So it is also incorrect. Option C. Here the first vector is given, which is 20 meter per second, and second vector is given, which is also 20 meter per second. And the resultant is given by the vector P. This is actually the resolution of the vector, that we have split up the vector V into two components, horizontal and vertical. Vertical is also 20 meter per second and also the horizontal is 20 meter per second. So this diagram is correct. Option C is correct. In the option D, the Direction of the vector v is towards here, but this is incorrect. The direction will be outward. So option D is incorrect. Only option C is correct. Question number 9. A ball is at rest on the ground. A boy kicks the ball. The boy's foot is in contact with the ball for 0.040 second. The average force on the ball is 200 Newton. The ball leaves the boy's foot with a speed of 20 meter per second. Which row gives the impulse of the boot of the ball and the average acceleration of the ball? Here basically we have to find out the impulse. We know that impulse is the product of force and time. I write here I is equal to F cross T. The force is given, which is 200 Newton, multiplied by time. Time is given 0.040 second. So the impulse will be equal to 8 Newton second. Next we also have to find out the average acceleration. According to definition of acceleration, A is equal to delta V over T, where delta V is the change in speed, that is V minus U over T. Here the speed is given 20 meter per second, minus the initial speed is 0 because ball is initially rest. So here will be 0 divided by 0.040. So value of average acceleration will be equal to 500 meter per second square. Now we see the options. Impulse on the ball, which is measured in Newton second, and the average acceleration of the ball, which is given in meter per second square. Option A 8, 0.8. This is incorrect because average acceleration is equal to 500. Option B 8 and 500. So this is correct. I circle option B. Question number 10. An object P of mass 80 gram collide with another object Q of mass 40 gram. After the collision, P and Q stick together and then travel on together. Before the collision, P is traveling at a speed of 6.0 meter per second and Q is at rest. What is the speed of the Q and P after the collision? Here we have to find out the speed after the collision. In this question, we use the law of conservation of momentum, that the total momentum before collision is equal to the total momentum after collision. So I write here, before the collision total momentum will be m p, which is the mass of the object P, and vp, it is the speed of the object P, plus momentum for the Q object. It will be equal to the momentum after collision, which is also due to the object P and Q. After the collision, P and Q stick together and they travel on together. It means that they travel with the common speed. So V P prime is equal to V Q prime, which is equal to P. This is given here in the second line. Now I use here the values of the mass and speed. Mass of the P object is 80 gram. So 80 multiplied by the speed of the object P is 6.0. Plus, for the object Q, mass is 40 gram multiplied by speed, which is 0 because the object Q is at rest. It will be equal to mass of P plus mass of Q multiplied by V, because now here is a common speed. So V will be equal to 80 multiplied by 6.0 divided by mass of P plus mass of Q body. So V is equal to 80 multiplied by 6.0 divided by 80 plus 40. The value of speed will be equal to 4.0 meter per second. Here we see the options. Option A 2.0 meter per second, B 3.0 meter per second, C 4.0 meter per second. So option C is correct. Question number 11. Brakes are used to slow down a moving car. Into which form of the energy is the most of kinetic energy converted as the car slows down? So as the car slows down, in which form the kinetic energy is converted? Option A, chemical, B, elastic, C, thermal, D, sound. So the kinetic energy is converted into thermal energy, which is due to the heat. So option C is correct. Question number 12. A box of mass 8.0 kg is lifted from the ground and placed on a shelf. The box gains 100 joule of potential energy. The ball falls off the shelf. Air resistance can be ignored. At what speed does the box hit the ground? Here we use the concept that loss of potential energy is equal to gain in kinetic energy. Because the box falls off the shelf, it means that it loses its height, due to which there will be the loss of potential energy, and this potential energy basically changes into kinetic energy. So I write here loss of potential energy is equal to gain of kinetic energy. We know formula for the kinetic energy and potential energy, so I write here mgh. It will be equal to half mv square. Now I am going to put values here. Potential energy is given 100 joule. So I write here 100. It will be equal to 1 over 2. Mass is 8.0 multiplied by v square. So v square will be equal to 100 multiplied by 2 divided by 8.0, and I have to take square root on both sides. So v will be equal to 5.0 meter per second. Now we see the options. Option A 3.5 meter per second, B 5.0 meter per second. So option B is correct. Question number 13. A car is moving along a straight horizontal road. The car has 1.6 megajoule of kinetic energy. The car accelerates for 20 seconds until the kinetic energy of the car increases to 2.5 megajoule. What is the minimum average power developed by the car engine for this acceleration? Here we have to find out the power. Power is basically the rate of transfer of energy. I write here we are given kinetic energy, and when the car accelerates, the value of kinetic energy also change. So I write here change in kinetic energy divided by time. Change in kinetic energy will be 2.5 minus 1.6 multiplied by 10 की power 6. 10 की power 6 is basically for mega, divided by time is given 20 seconds. So power will be equal to 45,000, and the unit of power is watt. I write here 5 multiplied by 10 की power 3 watt, which is equal to 45 kilowatt. Now we see the options. Option A 45 watt, B 205 watt, C 45 kilowatt. So option C is correct. Question number 14. Question number 14. A drawing pin thumbtack has a sharp point at one end and a flat surface at the other end. The pin is pushed into a wooden board. How does the pressure and the force at the sharp point compares with the pressure and the force at the flat surface? Force at the sharp point, pressure at the sharp point. Option A greater than on the flat surface, greater than on the flat surface. B greater than on the flat surface, less than on the flat surface. C Same as on the flat surface, greater than on the flat surface. D. The same as on the flat surface, less than on the flat surface. First of all, we can see here there is a sharp point while there is also the flat surface. Both of these are on opposite direction. The area of the sharp point is smaller as compared to the area of flat surface. And we know that pressure is equal to force over area. In both of these cases, the force remains same. So pressure is inversely proportional to area. I write here, when I increase the area, pressure decrease, and when I decrease the pressure, area increase. Both of these varies inversely proportion with each other. So the sharp point has smaller area. It means that here pressure will be large. On the flat surface, pressure will be small because here area is large. Now we see the options. In the option C, it is given that the same as the flat surface. It means that the force is same and the pressure at the sharp point is larger as compared to the pressure on the flat surface. So option C is correct. Question number 15. The density of the mercury is 13,600 kg per meter cube. What is the pressure at the bottom of the column of mercury that has a height of 75.0 cm? Here we have to find out pressure. And we know that the pressure due to liquid is equal to density, gravitational field strength and height. So P will be equal to, density is given 13,600 multiplied by the value of G is 10 and the height is given 75.0 cm and we have to convert into meters. So here will be 75.0 divided by 100. So the value of pressure will be equal to 1.02 into 10 की power 5 Pascal. Now we see the options. Option A 1.02 into 10 की power 4 Pascal. B 1.02 into 10 की power 5 Pascal. So option B is correct. Question number 16. Which law describes the arrangement and the motion of the molecules in a gas? Arrangement, motion. Option A, far apart, move freely. B, far apart, vibrate only. C, tightly packed and move freely. D, tightly packed, vibrate only. Here we have to describe the arrangement and the motion of molecules in the gas. We know that the gas molecules are far apart from each other. I draw here. This is a system containing gas and the molecules are very distant apart from each other as the spacing between the molecules are very large, so they can move freely. So option A is correct, which shows that the arrangement far apart and they move freely. Question number 17. A bubble of air of volume 3.0 mm cube is under water. The bubble is at a depth where the pressure of the air inside the bubble is 4 times atmospheric pressure. The temperature of the air in the bubble stays the same as it rises on the surface. What is the volume of the air in the bubble as it reaches the surface? Here the temperature remains same, which means that we apply Boyle's law here. I write Boyle's law. P1 V1 is equal to P2 V2. Here P is the pressure and V is the volume. It is given that the bubble of the air volume 3.0 mm cube in the underwater. So I consider that P1 V1 P2 and V2. So first of all, V1 is given 3.0 millimeter cube. The bubble is at the depth where the pressure of the air inside the bubble is 4 times. Here the pressure inside the bubble is 4 times as compared to atmospheric pressure. It means that P1 is equal to 4 times of pressure 2. Here I suppose that the pressure P2 is P, so P1 will be equal to 4P2, which is equal to 4P. And we have to find out the volume V2. So I put values here. V2 is equal to P1 V1 over P2. P1 is 4P multiplied by V1 is 3.0 divided by P2 is P. So this P cancels by this and there will be 12 millimeter cube. So V2 So V2 will be equal to 12 millimeter cube. Now we see the options. Option A 3.0 millimeter cube, B 9.0 millimeter cube, C 12 millimeter cube. So option C is correct. Question number 18. The same quantity of the thermal energy is supplied to each of the 4 blocks. Each block is made from a different material. Which block has the greatest thermal capacity? Here, which one of the following block has the largest thermal capacity? 4 blocks are shown, A, B, C and D. The temperature of the block A increase by 1 degree C. The temperature increase is 4 degrees C for the block B. For the block C, the increase in temperature is 2 degrees C, and for the block D, the temperature increased by 3 degrees C. We know that Q is equal to MC delta T, where C is the thermal capacity and delta T is change in temperature or increase in temperature. So C is inversely proportional to delta T. When the increase in temperature is larger, the thermal capacity should be smallest. So here we have to tell that which one of the following block has the greatest thermal capacity. So the thermal capacity will be largest for the block that has small increase in temperature. It is the block A, for which the increase in temperature is smallest, which is 1 degree C, and it is smaller as compared to 4 degree C, 2 degree C and 3 degree C. So option A is correct from here. Question number 19. A liquid turns into a gas. This occurs only at a particular temperature and the change happens throughout the liquid. What is this process called? When a liquid changes into gas, there should be boiling. Now we see the options. Option A, boiling, B, condensation, C, evaporation, D, fusion. So from here option A is correct, which shows boiling. Question number 20. In a cold country, a bicycle has been left outside all night. The cyclist finds the plastic hand grip feel less cold to touch than the steel handlebars. Which row correctly describes the temperature and the property of the two materials? First of all, here are two materials, plastic and steel. Steel and plastic were initially placed in the same cool temperature environment. We know that the specific heat capacity for the steel is larger as compared to the plastic. That's why the effect of the external temperature on the steel is greater as compared to the plastic. Now we see the options. The temperature of the two materials, the property of the two materials. Option A, the temperature of the steel is much lower than that of the plastic. The plastic is a better thermal conductor than the steel. So this option is incorrect because the temperature of the steel is not smaller as compared to that of the plastic. Option B, the temperature of the steel is much lower than that of the plastic. This is also incorrect. Option C, the steel and the plastic are both at the same temperature. The plastic is a better thermal conductor than the steel. Option D, The steel and the plastic are both at the same temperature. The steel is a better thermal conductor than the plastic. So option D is correct. Question number 21. The diagram shows a tent made from a new material. There is a tent which is made from the new material. Which type of the material should the tent be made of to reflect the radiant energy from the sun? Here we have to reflect all of the radiant energy from the sun. So which material should be used here? Material texture, material surface color. Option A, dull black. B, dull white. C, shiny black. D, shiny white. So first of all, the shiny surfaces are good reflector and the white color also reflect all of the visible frequency range. So the combination of the shiny and white surfaces makes a good reflector. So the shiny white surface is a good reflecting surface. But the dull black surfaces are bad reflector because the dull surface is bad reflector and the black color absorb all of the radiation. So it is a bad reflecting surface. Only option D is correct, which shows that shiny white surface. It reflects most of the radiation from the sun. So the shiny white surface reflects the radiant energy from the sun. Question number 22. A large hill blocks the direct path between a transmitter of the radio waves and the receiver as shown. The receiver picks up the signal from the transmitter even though the radio waves do not travel through the hill. Which row is correct? A possible way for this to happen is a strongest signal is received by option A, diffraction round the hill, longer wavelength. B, diffraction round the hill, shortest wavelength. C, refraction round the hill, longer wavelength. D, refraction round the hill, shorter wavelength. So first of all, when the wave of longer wavelength diffract, the waves spread out at a larger extent after diffraction. If the wavelength of the diffracted wave is longer than the width of the slit, then there will be more diffraction. I draw here. This is the separation. I represent it with D. And there are the waves that are approaching towards the slit. Here we can see that the wavelength is larger as compared to the separation of the slit. So there will be more diffraction. It means that wavelength should be longer. Now we need to separate the transmitter signal through the diffraction. If we want to send them to the receiver and to diffract signals to the large extent, the wavelength of the signal should be large. So there will be diffraction around the hill and the wavelength should be longer. Option A is correct. Question number 23. A ray of light is incident on a plane mirror. The student measures the angle of incidence I and the angle of reflection R. There is a plane mirror and this is the incident ray. It makes angle I with the normal ray, while when it is reflected, there is the angle R which shows the angle of reflection. The student varies the angle of incidence and plot a graph of R against I. What does the graph look like? Here is a graph between the angle of incidence and the angle of reflection. In the case of plane mirror, when increase the angle of incidence, angle of reflection also increase. Both of these are directly proportional to each other. Now we see the options. Option A, there is no direct relation between the angle of incidence and the angle of reflection. So this is incorrect. Option B, this is also incorrect. Option C, this shows that when I increase the angle of incidence, angle of reflection also be increased accordingly. Both of these varies directly with each other. So option C is correct. Question number 24. What is monochromatic light? Option A, light of a single amplitude. B, light of a single frequency. C, light of more than one color. D, light which travel with constant velocity. So monochromatic light is basically a light of single frequency. Option B is correct. Question number 25. The diagram shows the electromagnetic spectrum. Here is gamma rays, X-rays, ultraviolet, visible light, infrared, microwaves, radio waves. There is also show increasing. A word is missing from the label below the spectrum. Which word is missing? Option A, amplitude. B, frequency. C, speed. D, wavelength. First of all, here is gamma rays. We know that gamma rays has the largest frequency. And the radio wave has the shortest frequency. It means that when we move from left to right, the frequency decreases. But here we are asked about the increasing. So the largest frequency has the smaller wavelength. Here will be wavelength small. But for the radio wave, wavelength should be large. It means that when we move from left to right, the wavelength increases. So option D is correct. Question number 26. Which row gives a possible set of the values for the speed of sound in the ice, in water and in steam? Speed of the sound in ice, speed of the sound in water, speed of sound in steam. Option A, 500, 1500, 4000. B, 1500, 4500. Option C, 4500 and 1500. Option D, 4000, 1500, 500. We know that the speed of sound is largest in the solid, and then the speed of sound is larger in the liquid as compared to gas. So the speed of sound in the gas is smaller as compared to solid and liquid. Now we see the options. First of all, here is speed of sound in the ice, then in water and steam. Here is the last option D, which shows that the speed of sound in the ice is 4000, which means that the speed in the ice is largest as compared to the speed of sound in water, which is even greater as compared to the speed of sound in steam. So option D is correct. Question number 27. A steel bar is placed in an east-west direction for it to be demagnetized. No other magnet is nearby. Which method is not suitable? Option A, hammering the bar. B, heating the bar to a very high temperature. C, slowly taking the bar out of the coil that carries an alternating current. Option D, slowly taking the bar out of the coil that carries a direct current. Only the AC current uses for demagnetization of the magnet, and we don't use the direct current. It means that option D is correct, which shows that when we have to demagnetize the bar magnet, we don't have to use the direct current, but we have to use the alternating current. So option D is correct. Question number 28. A plastic rod is rubbed with a dry cloth. The rod becomes positively charged. Why has the rod becomes positively charged? Option A, it has gained electrons. B, it has gained neutrons. C, it had lost electrons. D, it has lost neutrons. So first of all, the rod becomes positively charged. It means that here will be the removal of electron. The rod has lost electrons. So option C is correct. Question number 29. There is a current of 2.0 ampere in a resistor for 30 seconds. The potential difference across the resistor is 12 volt. How much energy is transferred in the resistor? Here we have to find out the amount of energy. We know that power is equal to energy over time, that is the rate of transfer of energy. Also power is equal to the product of the current and potential difference. Now we have to compare both of these formula. E over T will be equal to I and V. From here E is equal to I, V and T. I put values here. Energy will be equal to current, which is 2.0 ampere, multiply by potential difference, it is 12 volt, and time is 30 seconds. So that the value of energy will be equal to 720 joule. Option D is correct. Question number 30. Identical resistors are connected together to form an arrangement X, Y and Z. There are three arrangements X, Y and Z. What is the correct order of the resistances of the arrangements from the largest to the smallest? First of all, we see X. Here are two resistance and both of these are connected in parallel. If I suppose that the resistance is R for both of these resistors, and when we have to find out the total resistance in the parallel combination, I use formula 1 over RT is equal to 1 over R1 plus 1 over R. Now I am going to put values here. It will be 1 over R plus 1 over R. It means that total resistance will be equal to R by 2. For the first circuit, it will be R over 2. For Y, if I again suppose here it is R, and the total resistance will be the sum of both of these resistance. It will be R plus R, which is 2R. For the circuit Z, the total resistance will be equal to R plus R plus R, because there are three resistors. So it will be equal to 3R. Now we see here that the resistance for the Z is larger as compared to the resistance for the Y, and it is also larger as compared to X. Now we see the options. Option A, X, Y and Z. Here the order is reverse, so this is incorrect. B, Y, X and Z. This is also incorrect. Option C, Z, X and Y. This is incorrect. D, Z, Y and X. So option D is correct. Question number 31. Resistors of 1.0 ohm, 2.0 ohm and 3.0 ohms are connected in parallel with the cell. Which statement is correct? As all of these resistors are connected in parallel, in the parallel combination, the value of the current is different. The value of the current changes while the potential difference remains same. Now we see the options. Option A, the current in each resistor is different, but the potential difference across each resistor is same. Here is the same situation. The current across each resistor is different, but the potential difference is same. So only option A is correct. We also see the others. The current in each resistor is same, which is incorrect because current is different. Option C, the potential difference across the 3.0 ohm resistor is greater than the potential difference across the 1.0 ohm resistor. So the potential difference remains same. This is also incorrect. The sum of the potential difference across each resistor is equal to the electromotive force of the cell. This is also incorrect because the potential difference remains same. Question number 32. The diagram shows a circuit component. What is it used for? Option A, to allow the current in one direction only. B, to change the direction of the current. C, to emit light when there is a current. D, to increase the size of the current. This component is basically diode that allow the current to pass only in one direction. So option A is correct. Question number 33. Which single logic gate behaves the same as that of the combination of logic gates shown? Here we can see that two logic gates are shown. First one is NAND gate, while the second gate is NOT gate. So which one of the single logic gate can be used at the place of the combination of this logic gate? First of all, we know that NAND gate is obtained when I apply NOT gate over AND gate. Then we know that in the NOT gate, 1 changes into 0 and 0 changes into 1. I draw here truth table. First of all, there are two inputs A, B, and the output of the NAND gate is X, while for the NOT gate it is Y. 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. So first of all, I have to apply AND gate and then I have to take NOT to get the NAND gate. When there is 0, 0, the output of the AND gate will be 0 and for the NAND gate it should be 1. When there is 0, 1, the output of the AND gate would be 0 and for the NAND gate it should be 1. When there is 0, 1, again there should be 1. And for the last combination, when the inputs are 1, 1, then the output of the AND gate should be 1. And for the NAND gate it should be 0 because the AND gate only gives output high when both of the inputs are high, otherwise the output is low. And when I have to apply NOT over it, then here should be 0, 0, 0 and 1. This is NAND gate. I also write here the outputs for the AND gate. 0, 0 gives output 0. Here will be 0, 0 and 1. Now we check the outputs of the AND gate and the last one NOT gate. Both of these are same. It means that the combination of the NAND gate and NOT gate, it is equal to AND gate. So only option A is correct. Question number 34. Where must be a fuse connected in a mains electric circuit? Option A, the earth wire only. B, the live wire only. C, the neutral wire only. D, the live wire and the earth wire. So here the fuse must be connected with the live wire only. Option B is correct. Question number 35. The north pole of the magnet is moved into a coil of the wire connected to a galvanometer. The needle of the galvanometer moves. Which situation must give a smaller galvanometer reading? So galvanometer is basically used to measure the current. It means that in the circuit the current is smaller. Now we see the options. Option A, use a coil with few turns and a stronger magnet. B, use a coil with few turns and a weaker magnet. C, use a coil with more turns and stronger magnet. D, use a coil with more turns and weaker magnet. Here we have to decrease the current. When we have to decrease the current, the number of turns should be smaller and the strength of the magnet should be weak. So option B is correct, which shows that use a coil with few turns, weaker magnet, which gives the smallest current and there will be smaller galvanometer reading. So only option B is correct. Question number 36. A step-down transformer is 100% efficient. It has an input voltage of 240 AC and the output voltage of 60 volt AC. The current in the primary coil is 0.50 ampere. What is the current in the secondary coil? Here we have to find out the current. It is given that the transformer is 100% efficient. It means that the input power will be equal to output power. I write here input power is equal to output power. And input power is basically for the primary coil while the output power is for the secondary coil. And we know that power is equal to product of current and voltage. So I write here IPVP, which is for the primary coil. It will be equal to ISVS. Here we have to find out the current in the secondary coil. It will be equal to IPVP over Vs. Current in the primary coil is given 0.50 ampere multiplied by the voltage across the primary coil, which is 240 divided by 60. So the current in secondary coil will be equal to 2.0 ampere. Option C is correct. Question number 37. The diagram shows the simple atomic structure for two neutral atoms X and Y of different elements. There are two neutral atoms X and Y. Which row is correct? Atom with more electrons, atom with a more positively charged nucleus. Here we can see that the electrons are revolving in the shell and the number of electrons in the X is 3. While the number of electrons in the Y atom is 4. This is 1, 2, 3 and 4. It means that the number of electrons in the atom Y is larger as compared to the number of electrons in the atom X. Next we have to check the positively charged nucleus, which means that the number of protons. It is given that both of these are the neutral atom. So the number of electrons should be equal to number of proton. So here will be 4 protons but here will be 3. It means that the number of electrons and the positively charged nucleus for the Y is larger as compared to X. Now we see the options. Option A, X and X. B, X and Y. C, Y and X. D, Y and Y. So only option D is correct because both of these are more for the atom Y. Question number 38. Plutonium-238 decays by emission of alpha particle. Which equation represents the decay of plutonium-238 nucleus? Here is the alpha particle emission. We know that alpha particles are helium nuclei. So the atomic number of alpha particle is 2 while the mass number is 4. In the option A, we can see here plutonium-238 and 94 changes into uranium-238 and 95 with alpha particle, but alpha particle with 0 and -1. This is basically beta particle, so this is incorrect. Option B, here alpha particle shown with correct atomic number and atomic mass. We also check the other. The atomic number for the Pu is 94. For the uranium it is 92. Now we check 94 is equal to 92 plus 2, which is also equal to 94. So the mass number for uranium 234 is 234 while the mass number for the Pu is 238. So I write here 238 is equal to 234 plus 4, which is also equal to 234. It means that option B is because the atomic number and atomic mass on both of the sides of arrow are same. So option B is correct. Option C is incorrect because here alpha particle atomic number and atomic mass is interchanged. So option C is incorrect. And in the option D, the atomic number and atomic mass of the uranium increase. So this is also incorrect. Question number 39. A radioactive isotope has a half-life of 8 days. A detector close to the sample of this isotope gives a count rate of 200 counts per minute. Without the source, the background count is 20 counts per minute. What is the count rate due to the source after 8 days? So here we have to find out the total count rate after 8 days. First of all, when the 8 days pass, it means that only one half-life passed because half-life is also equal to 8 days. The count rate is given, which is 200 counts per minute, and due to the background count rate is 20. So here will be minus 20, which is equal to 180. When the first half-life passed, the count rate remains half. So I write here 180 divided by 2, which is equal to 90 counts per minute. It means that after first half-life, the count rate is 90 counts per minute, but here we have to write the count rate due to the source. So that's why the count rate is equal to 90 counts per minute. Now we see the options. Option A, 80 counts per minute. B, 90 counts per minute. C, 100 counts per minute. D, 110 counts per minute. So from here, option B is correct, which shows 90 counts per minute. Question number 40. Why are some radioactive sources stored in a box made from lead? Option A, lead absorbs emission from the radioactive sources. B, lead decrease the half-life of the radioactive sources. C, lead increase the half-life of the radioactive sources. D, lead repels the emission from the radioactive sources. The main property that makes the lead an ideal shield is density. However, this material has other properties for the radiation shielding. That is, the lead has high flexibility, it is extremely stable, and it has high atomic number. Because of these properties, lead absorbs emission from the radioactive sources and it is sufficient to use as a radiation shielding. So option A is correct, which shows that the lead absorbs emission from the radioactive sources.